Hello, today we're going to be making macaroni cheese with a slight twist because we're going to add some chorizo on top as well. So you're going to use your large side of your grater that sort of was showing you there. So you want to use the side that has got the big holes and not the wee holes. This is going to make it much easier for you when you're grating your cheese and getting it off at the end. Now, I have given you a recipe for one portion, and so if you are making it for more people, or you're making more to put in the freezer, then you're just going to times it by however many people that you need. Next up is your chorizo. This is completely optional, and you're only wanting to use a small bit because chorizo, as I showed you, is really high in fat, saturated fat, and salt. So we need to make sure that we're using this as in part of a healthy, balanced diet, and you don't want to be having too much of it. Foods that are too high in salt can increase our blood pressure, which increases our risk of having strokes in later life. And for young children, having too much salt in their diets can affect their kidneys. Next up, you're going to add butter to your pan and you're going to melt this. It's important that whenever you're doing this that you are staying at your oven. You don't want to be going away and leaving this when you're using the hob because it'll turn to oil really quickly and you don't want it to catch fire. Whilst I'm melting that, I've also got a pan half filled with water and I'm bringing that to the boil. So once I've got my water to the boil, when I can see big popping bubbles, I'm going to add in my pasta. So once your butter has melted, you're going to add in your flour. Now this is going to form what we call a roux, which looks like it almost goes like a Play-Doh ball, basically, when the butter, the fat and the flour is mixed together. So once your roux has formed, you want to heat this up slightly so that it allows the starch molecules in the flour to, once heated, they burst open, which is going to allow it to absorb the milk when we add the milk. And that way it's going to make a really smooth, glossy, white cheese sauce for us. You can add all your ingredients in at once here, so you can add in your flour, your butter, your milk and your cheese all together and bring it to the boil altogether. However, I find this way much easier, although it's a bit more bitty, only because I have never made this and not been able to get a nice smooth cheese sauce if you add all your ingredients in together and you aren't as quick stirring or you leave it for a wee minute. It can sometimes cause it to have lumps, like flour lumps inside it, whereas doing it this way ensures that you are incorporating all your sauce ingredients gradually. And whilst doing this, you're able to see if you need more or less or something. So I've only added a small bit of milk and I'm mixing that in. And then what you'll see is it forms almost like a larger Play-Doh ball. And it goes through these stages. So gradually, the more milk you add, eventually, when you've added all your milk, there you go. Eventually, when you've added all your milk, you will be left with a runny sauce consistency. You can add in your milk altogether, but again, like I said, this way for me, adding it gradually to the roux helps me ensure that I get a nice, smooth, glossy cheese sauce. Whilst I'm doing this, I'm still watching my pan to make sure the water's going to be boiling, ready to add my pasta in. And I'm also frying off my chorizo. Now, you don't have to add any additional oil to that pan because there is lots of fat in chorizo, and when we add heat to that, the oil and the sausage comes out, and so it fries really easily without having to add any additional fat to the pan. So you can see here the big popping bubbles in my pot, so I'm ready just to add in my pasta. And I'm going to cook this until it is what we would call al dente. Al dente meaning it's soft but it's still got some bite, so you don't want your pasta to be soggy and squidgy. You still want it to have some bite to it. And that's where the word al dente comes from, because it is an Italian word for dentures. You can see my sauce starting to thicken up now, and it is time to add in our cheese. Now, cheese has got a lot of natural fats in it, and this is what's going to help add flavour to our sauce. You can use any kind of cheese you like. Cheddar cheese has got a good melting point for adding into sauces. It melts really easily. But you can use red or mature, whatever kind of cheese you have in the fridge. Once you're happy with the pasta, you're going to drain it, and always add your pasta into the sauce rather than adding the sauce to the pasta. That way, you're going to ensure that you've incorporated everything together, you've not missed anything out. Pour over some chorizo on top, and there you have it. Macaroni cheese that you can enjoy as part of a healthy, balanced diet, and it was delicious.